I'm Keith Chubb, but most people call me Chubby. It's been my nickname for a really long time, so please feel free to call me that. Let's talk about why Florida has become such an obvious choice for so many people. And before we talk specifically about the villages, we really need to start with Florida itself. Because for a lot of people, especially people coming from the Midwest, the Northeast, and other colder parts of the country, Florida starts looking less like a vacation spot and more like a different way to live. For months at a time, people in those cold areas are dealing with weather problems, snow on the roads, ice on the windshield, gray skies, heavy coats, bundling up just to go outside, and sometimes not really wanting to go outside at all. And after a while, that doesn't just affect your schedule, it can affect how you feel, your energy, your mood, of course, your motivation, and sometimes it just wears you down a little. I lived in Cleveland for a couple of years, and honestly, the weather really got to me there. Back then, I remember hearing that Cleveland had a very limited amount of sunshine in a year. Now, compare that to Central Florida. Here we get somewhere around 230 days of sunshine every year. That's not a small difference, by the way. That's a whole different mood. And when you think about what that does to your everyday life, it starts to make sense why Florida becomes so appealing. Because suddenly, instead of being stuck inside, you can actually get outside. You can walk, take a bike ride, play golf. You can go to the pool or meet some friends for lunch outside. You can listen to music. You can stay active. And then you can just live more of your life out in the open. And sometimes just being able to be outside, feel the sun and breathe a little warm air can completely change the way a day feels. So for many people, Florida just isn't about warmer weather. It's about freedom. Freedom to be outside and stay active. Freedom to enjoy more of the year. And of course, to live a little more fully day to day. That's one of the big reasons Florida has become such a popular destination. But once people start looking at Florida, the next question becomes, well, where are we going in Florida? Because Florida is a pretty big state. The coast is different from the inland areas. South Florida is different from Central Florida. And the Panhandle, of course, is different too. And every part of Florida has its own personality. So the next thing we need to talk about is why Central Florida has become such a powerful choice for so many people. And after that, we'll get more specific, because once you understand why people choose Florida and why Central Florida makes so much sense, then it becomes a lot easier to understand why so many people are finding their way to the villages and the surrounding areas. And along the way, we may even unlock a few mysteries about what makes the villages so different. So stay with me, because this is where it starts to get interesting. Now that we've talked about why Florida has become such a popular choice, let's get more specific. Why Central Florida? And one of the first things we need to talk about is location. Because when people think about relocation, location really does matter a lot. The Villages is located right here in Central Florida, and that gives us a really interesting advantage, actually quite a few. We're not sitting in the middle of a major city, but we're also not in the middle of nowhere, and that's a pretty sweet combination. We're about an hour and a half from the Orlando area, about the same from Tampa. So if you want a beach day, you've got options. East Coast, West Coast, Atlantic side, Gulf side, pick your mood. Unfortunately, some people are surprised when they realize that the Villages is not actually on the coast. And I get that. When people picture Florida, they often picture the beach right outside their front door. But the Villages is inland, so the beach is not 5 minutes away, unfortunately. But here's another way to look at it. If the Villages were sitting directly on the coast, the homes would probably be financially out of reach for a lot more people. Because, homes along the coast are usually way more expensive. You would also be dealing with more coastal traffic, salt air, tourist congestion, and all the challenges that come with living near the beach. So for many people, Central Florida ends up being a pretty good balance. You still have access to both coasts when you want a beach day, but day to day, you're not living directly in the middle of the coastal pressure. And because we're close to Orlando, Tampa, and Sanford, we also have access to several major airports. That means when you want to travel or when family or friends want to come visit you, you have choices, and so do they. And choices matter. Now, one of the things you hear people say about the villages is that we live inside the bubble. And yes, that is a real nickname people use here. The villages kind of has its own world of convenience. Restaurants, shopping, entertainment, medical offices, recreation, golf, music, activities, and a whole lot more. But here's the nice part. You get all of that without having to live in the middle of a big city. And that is a big deal because a lot of people want access to big city things without dealing with big city headaches every single day. And that's one reason the villages and the surrounding areas work so well for so many people. You can enjoy the convenience of daily life here and still be close enough to Orlando, Tampa, the beaches, and other destinations when you want a change of scenery. Now, whenever you talk about Florida, there's one topic that almost always comes up. Yes, hurricanes. And I get that. I understand. People see the news, they see scary pictures from coastal areas, flooding, evacuations, wind damage, and it can make Florida look pretty intimidating. But here's where location really matters. The Villages, remember, is in Central Florida. We're inland. We're not sitting directly on the coast, and that makes a meaningful difference. Now, does that mean we don't pay attention to hurricane forecasts? Of course not. This is still Florida. You listen to severe weather warnings. You prepare if necessary because storms are to be taken seriously. But being inland helps reduce one of the biggest coastal risks, which is storm surge. And depending on where you live in Florida, coastal hurricane exposure can also affect insurance costs. And that is another reason inland areas can feel more manageable for many people. And when you look at areas around the villages, places like Leesburg and Ocala, they are often mentioned as being safer inland areas when it comes to hurricane exposure. Not hurricane proof, no, but generally less exposed than coastal communities. So I don't tell people, oh, don't worry about hurricanes. Of course, that would be silly. But I do tell them there's a big difference between living in the beach areas and living inland in Central Florida. And for a lot of people, that difference gives them a little more comfort when they're thinking about making Florida their next chapter. And there's one other hidden location advantage that a lot of people don't think about right away. That's Port Canaveral. Because from the Villages, you can drive about 2 hours, hop on a cruise ship, and suddenly you're on vacation. That's not a bad way to start a trip. No airport, no luggage carousel, no connecting flights. Just get in the car and drive over, get on the ship. And for people who love cruising, that is a real bonus. And oh my heavens, I forgot to talk about this one. We're close to Orlando, right? You know what that means. Disney and Universal and SeaWorld and all the other Orlando attractions that people travel from all over the world to visit. So if you like these kind of attractions, or your kids or grandkids, your wife, daughter, husband, or visiting family like these kind of attractions, being this close is pretty handy. In our family, let's just say some people enjoy Disney a little more than others. But it's still nice to have it nearby. So when you step back and look at the map, the Villages really does have a strong location story. You're close enough to major cities when you want them, close enough to the beaches when you really need to get away, close enough to the airports when you travel, close enough to Port Canaveral if cruising is your thing, and close enough to our Orlando attractions when family and friends come to visit. But day to day, you still get to live in a place that feels more meaningful, more connected, and more community-like. And that's a big part of why the Villages has become such a popular choice. It's not just where it is, it's what location allows you to do. And once you understand, you start to really understand why so many people come here to take a look around and say, wow, I get it now. Wait, hold the phone. We've talked so much about geography that I forgot to mention two big Florida financial advantages, and they can really have a financial impact on you. First, Florida has no state income tax. I'm talking zero. Now compare that to several other states. I'm not going to bother reading all of these percentages. You can look at them for yourself. Now, your exact tax situation, of course, depends on your income and your filing status and your overall financial picture. So always check, with your tax professional to really understand all those differences. But believe me, if you live in Florida, that zero state income tax can really keep more money in your pocket. Let's take a quick look at residential property taxes. The Villages encompasses part of Marion County, Sumter County, and part of Lake County. As of 2026, you can see the percentages for Marion, Sumter, and Lake counties. And then you can see how it compares to a bunch of other things, including the national median, which is 0.89%. And compare that to some of the higher tax states. Well, you can just read all the averages for yourself. I don't have to go through them. Remember though, every property is different and your actual property taxes depend on the home you buy, its assessed value, and other factors, of course. But generally speaking, the Villages area property tax rates compare very favorably with many parts of the country. And there's one more advantage. If Florida is your full-time residence, you may qualify for Florida's homestead exemption. That doesn't reduce the value of your home, it reduces the taxable assessed value used to calculate part of your property taxes. And that can lower your tax bill. And there's even more good news. In November of 26, Florida voters will decide on a proposed constitutional amendment that would further increase the homestead exemption for many full-time Florida homeowners. And if it passes, even more of your home's assessed value could become exempt from certain property taxes. So between no state income tax and competitive residential property tax rates and the homestead exemption, Florida offers some meaningful financial advantages that are definitely worth considering. And then there's something that really sets this place apart, the golf cart lifestyle. It is a big part of what makes the Villages feel so different. And here's what really surprises people. You can travel throughout the entire course of the Villages by golf cart. We're talking over 60 square miles connected by designated golf cart paths, tunnels, bridges, and neighborhood-friendly streets. Now, this isn't just a novelty. This is how people actually get around. In fact, a lot of people decide to have just one car and a golf cart. It's convenient, and it can help reduce expenses. Golf carts are perfect for short trips, running errands, grabbing a bite to eat, heading over to the town square. Yeah, we'll get to that in a little while. We're going to the pool, visiting friends, or just taking a ride for the heck of it. Golf carts themselves come in all kinds of setups. You'll see simple ones, golf carts for 2, 4, and 6 people, gas carts, electric carts, street legal carts even, and plenty of customized carts too. Some people really go all out with designs that look like classic cars or their favorite sports team, or maybe just a fully personalized build. A few get pretty decked out with sound systems, sliding side doors, and even air conditioning. So instead of jumping in your car, you hop in your golf cart and go. And there's even a little golf cart etiquette people learn along the way. I'm going to tell you right now. For example, when you park your golf cart in a regular car parking space, pull your cart all the way forward and to the left. That way, another golf cart can pull in behind you on the right side. It's a simple little thing, but it does help 2 carts fit into one parking spot. And once you know it, you'll start seeing people doing it everywhere. Now, as fun as golf carts are, safety still matters. So if your cart has seat belts, wear them. Secure loose items like your phones or anything else that could bounce out while you're driving along. Pay attention. Watch your speed. Use your lights and your turn signals. And don't assume everyone sees you. That's especially important when you're coming in and out of neighborhood entry and exit points. Cars may not always know what you're about to do, so take your time, look both ways, and be careful. A golf cart may feel relaxed and fun, but it's still motorized transportation. And unfortunately, there have been people who have had serious injuries from golf cart accidents. And sadly, there have been some fatalities too. So this is not about scaring anybody. It's about protecting yourself, your passengers, and everyone else sharing the road or path with you. And this one matters. Be responsible. If you've had too much to drink or too much partying, do not drive your cart. This is not a joke, and it is not worth the risk. The golf cart lifestyle works best when people are courteous, aware, and responsible. So enjoy it, have fun with it, but respect it. So let's wrap this up. Golf carting around here is one of the things that makes the Villages really feel different. It can make life easier. It can make life more social. And it can make everyday errands feel a little more fun. But the right cart depends on you and your lifestyle. So do your homework, ask questions, talk to people who live here and have gas and electric carts. Ask their opinion, what they like and what they don't like. Talk to dealers and make sure the cart matches your lifestyle. Because this is not just about buying a golf cart. Oh no, it is about understanding one of the most unique parts of life in the Villages. And around here, a golf cart is not just something you drive. It becomes part of your routine, part of your social life, and sometimes even part of your personality. Now we're going to talk about one of the signature things the Villages is known for, and that is golf. And believe it or not, the Villages has over 800 holes of golf. I know that sounds crazy, over 800 holes, it's true. So if you're a golfer, this is pretty close to golfer's heaven. But here's my personal experience with golf. When I first got here, it was right around the start of the pandemic, and I was not a golfer, not at all. A friend of mine said, "Chubby, I know you don't golf, but we're going to pick you up, and we're going to get you a set of used golf clubs." And I said, "Yeah, but I don't want to golf." And he said, "Yeah, you do." Well, because at that time, a lot of things were shut down because of COVID. But golf was still one of the things that people could do. You could get outside, see your friends, get some fresh air, and you could be around all kinds of people, but still have some space too. So I said, okay, I guess I'm going to learn golf. And that's what happened. I came to the Villages as a non-golfer, and the Villages kind of pulled me into golf. You do not have to be a golfer to live in the Villages. There are plenty of people here who have never picked up a golf club. And honestly, I thought I was going to be one of them. But golf here is such a big part of the lifestyle that even if you don't play, you still notice it everywhere. There are really three main types of golf experiences here: pitch and putt, executive courses, and championship courses. The pitch and putt courses are walking-only courses, and the Villages currently has 4 of them. The holes range from 40 to 110 yards, and many people think they're easy because these holes are short. But trust me, these courses are very challenging. And because they are walking only, they are completely free for Villages residents. Then you have the executive courses. These courses are usually shorter courses, mostly par 3s with some par 4s mixed in, depending on, of course, which course you're on. They are great for newer golfers, casual golfers, or people who just want to get out and play without making it an all-day event. But don't misunderstand that. Executive courses are not just for beginners. Plenty of good golfers play the executive courses too. They may have friends who prefer a shorter or less difficult course. They may not want to pay more money to play the championship course. Or they may just want a quicker, more relaxed round of golf. So executive golf here is not just about skill level. It is also about convenience, social connection, cost, and how people really want to spend their day. Then you have championship courses. These are the bigger courses, more traditional golf, more challenging too, longer holes, more of the full golf experience. And the nice thing is, there is something here for different skill levels. If you're serious about golf, you've got options. If you're just learning, you have options. And if you're somewhere in between, well, you definitely have options. But golf here is not just about hitting a little white ball. Oh no, it is also social. There are men's groups, women's groups, couples groups, neighborhood groups, friends who play every week or multiple times per week. They meet for golf and then go grab lunch or dinner and drinks afterwards. For a lot of people, golf becomes part of their social calendar, not just their exercise, not just their hobby, their social life. Now let's talk briefly about the cost though, and I'm going to keep this simple because fees can change. As a resident of the Villages, You can play the pitch and putt courses for free because they are walking only. If you walk the executive courses, there is no trail fee. If you use your golf cart on the executive courses, there is a trail fee. And that trail fee can be paid different ways. The annual executive golf trail is listed at around $150. And think about that, unlimited golf for around $150 a year. That is an amazing deal, especially when you compare it to what golf costs in a lot of other communities. Now, the championship courses are different. They do have greens fees, and the rates can vary by course, season, time of day, and other factors. So I'm not going to quote championship course prices right now because I don't know really what they are because I never really play them. So I don't want to give you a bad number. But if championship golf is important to you, you'll want to check the current rates. The bigger point is this: golf is one of the major lifestyle anchors of the Villages. For some people, it is the reason they move here. For others, it is something that they discover after they move here. And for some, it is just part of the scenery. But whether you play every day, once a week, once in a while, or not at all, golf is woven into the lifestyle here. And I'll tell you this, I never thought golf was going to be part of my Villages story. But here I am, living proof that the Villages can turn a non-golfer into somebody who at least knows which end of the club to hold. And around here, that's a pretty good start. All right, now we're getting warmed up because now it's time to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is entertainment in the Villages. And this is one of those things people hear about before they move here, but I don't think you can really understand it until you experience it. Entertainment here is not just something you do once in a while. It becomes part of the lifestyle here. Music is everywhere. Town squares, restaurants, bars, special events, neighborhood parties, dancing, golf carts lined up everywhere. And if you enjoy being around people, this can be a really fun place to live. Now, one of the things the Villages is probably best known for is the nightly entertainment at the town squares. And as of right now, there are 5 major entertainment areas or squares: Spanish Springs, Lake Sumter Landing, Brownwood Paddock Square, Sawgrass Grove, and Eastport. Each one has its own personality. Spanish Springs has that older, more classic town square feel. Lake Sumter Landing, well, it's more of a waterfront feel, a coastal kind of feel. And Brownwood has more of a Western theme. In fact, when Jude and I first visited the Villages, we originally drove into Brownwood, and we said to each other, dang, it looks like we just arrived on a Western movie set. Okay, well, back to the story. Sawgrass Grove feels newer and more casual, and Eastport is part of the newer growth area in the Villages, and it feels pretty modern. They each have their own look, their own layout, and their own vibe. The basic idea, though, is the same. People show up by golf cart or by car. They meet friends, listen to music, dance, walk around, maybe grab something to eat or drink, and the entertainment is free, always. That is a big deal here. You can enjoy live music and the atmosphere without buying a ticket. And the music is not just one kind of music. 50s and 60s, 70s disco and rock, 80s, 90s, current pop, country, and here is one band that plays an entire night of Latin music. And there is a lot of options here. So live entertainment squares with live music 7 nights a week. You do the math. That is 35 bands a week. Okay, no need to get out your calculator. That's 1,820 live band performances every year. So that can mean doing something on the spur of the moment or planning it in advance. Okay, here's something you probably don't want to miss though. Go at least one time, promise me. It happens twice a year, in the fall and in the spring. The band Blonde Ambition throws a glow party. This party is crazy. The band and the people get dressed up in all kinds of glow outfits. And as my wife Jude says, put a glow stick in the hands of our residents and they go nuts. But be forewarned, these glow parties get really packed. For sure, one of the things that surprises people is how active residents are here. Moving, dancing, meeting people, trying new things. And that is a big part of the entertainment story here. It is not only about the band, it is about the social side of it. You may go to the square for the music, but you may end up seeing the same faces over and over again. And you start recognizing people, conversations happen, you run into neighbors. Before long, it becomes part of your routine. But entertainment here is not limited to the squares. That is important to understand. Restaurants and bars often have their own music and events. Some places feature solo performers, others have duos, and some feature, well, that's karaoke, of course. For someone like me who has spent a big part of my life around music and entertainment, all of these options definitely help me feel really comfortable here in the Villages. So if you do not feel like going to one of the town squares, you may still find music somewhere else. There is also the neighborhood side of entertainment. Okay, this is something many people don't realize until they live here. Driveway parties, garage parties, backyard parties, cul-de-sac get-togethers. Holy moly. People pull up in their carts, bring a chair, bring a drink in their cooler, and hang out with the neighbors. And in some neighborhoods, those little get-togethers become a big part of the social life. That may not be your thing, and that is okay. But for a lot of people, it's one of the things they end up loving here because it makes the neighborhood feel connected. Now, are you going to like every band? No. Are you going to love every event? Of course not. Is every square going to be your favorite? Nope, mine's Brownwood. But that is the kind of the point. You have choices. You have options. You can find the places, the music, and the atmosphere that fits you. Some people love the big events and others want to dance. Some want to people watch. And trust me, people watching in the Villages can be its own kind of entertainment. Well, the calendar also fills up with special events throughout the year. Holiday celebrations, theme nights, car shows, festivals, glow parties, seasonal events, of course. Entertainment is not there to fill up the calendar. It gives people a reason to get out of the house, a place to go, and a way to meet other people. And for many residents, that becomes a huge part of why they enjoy living here. Now, if you're someone who wants to have complete peace and quiet all the time, well, you can still find that in your own home and your own neighborhood. But if you want activity, music, events, social opportunities, the Villages gives you a lot of ways to plug in. You do not have to do everything, and you don't have to go out every night. Don't have to be a dancer or be the life of the party. But if you want to be around people, there are a lot of opportunities here in the Villages. All right, now let's talk about another part of the Villages lifestyle that can be really hard to explain until you see it for yourself. The amenities, the rec centers, the activities, the clubs, and all the different ways people stay active here. Because when you start hearing some of the numbers, they almost sound made up. More than 100 swimming pools, more than 100 rec centers, hundreds of pickleball courts, golf, tennis, fitness classes, arts and crafts, card groups, social groups, dance clubs, oh my goodness, and more than 3,000 resident-led clubs and lifestyle groups. That is a lot. And for many people, this is one of the biggest reasons the Villages feels different from a regular retirement community. It is not just about buying a house. It is about having a lot of things to do, places to go, people to meet, and activities built into the everyday lifestyle. Now let's start with the pools. The Villages has adult pools, family pools, sports pools, and country club pools. You probably have a pool pretty close to your home. And sometimes people say to me, hey Chubby, with so many swimming pool options here in the Villages, why do some people still want their own private pool? And I always say, well, remember this, there are a few things you can't really do in a public pool. Swim whenever you want, play your own kind of music, have your own private party with just your friends, and finally, well, you know the fourth reason. But after they move here, it can become part of their regular routine, all of the pools. Maybe you swim, do water aerobics, play water volleyball. Maybe you sit by the pool and just talk with your neighbors or friends. Or maybe you never use it at all, and that's okay, but the point is the option is there. Then you have the rec centers, and these are not all the same, by the way. Some are smaller neighborhood centers, some are larger regional rec centers, and some have meeting rooms, activity rooms, different sizes, fitness areas, sports courts, and outdoor recreation. cards, board games, painting, woodworking, music, exercise, dance clubs, meeting, social events, and all kinds of hobby groups. There is probably a group for you. And if there isn't one, doggone, you can start one. That is one of the cool things here. A lot of the activity comes from the residents themselves. People bring their own interests with them. They bring their hobbies and their skills, their talents, their backgrounds. And before long, those things turn into clubs, classes, and social groups. Now, pickleball is a big one here. And I know pickleball has become popular all over the world. But in the villages, it is really popular. In fact, the villages got onto the pickleball bandwagon way before it became an international phenomenon. You will see people playing in the morning, afternoon, and evening. And if you are new to the game, there are lots of ways to learn. And if you already play, there are plenty of opportunities to get involved. But pickleball is just one example. There's also tennis, softball, cycling, running groups, walking groups, fitness classes, and plenty of other ways to stay active. And again, you don't have to do all of it. That is the key. The villages gives you a lot of options. You can be very active, somewhat active, or you can be relaxed and just enjoy things that fit your lifestyle. There's also the polo club, and that surprises a lot of people because not many retirement communities have polo, but the villages does. During the polo season, usually in the spring and fall, people can go watch matches, tailgate, socialize, and enjoy something just a little bit different. And that is another example of how broad the entertainment and activity options are here in the villages. It's not just one thing, it's a lot of different things. Now, the clubs are probably one of the biggest parts of the social life here. And this is where people really start finding their people. There are clubs based on hobbies, where you're from, colleges, sports teams, music, service, travel, and just about every interest you can imagine. For example, I belong to two groups, the 3 C's for folks who lived in Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati, or even in Ohio, period, and the Northwest Ohio group. Remember, I lived in Cleveland, and I also went to Bowling Green State University in Northwest Ohio. And there are the unofficial groups here too. Some are on Facebook, some are on Facebook Messenger. Some use WhatsApp to communicate, and these groups can be a big part of the social life too. And they are active. Sometimes they have 8 events in a week. Some are small lunches, some get-togethers, some larger dress-up themed dance parties. One time, 85 women went on a group cruise together. And sometimes they have a +1 event where spouses and significant others can join in the fun. I love going to these. And not to boast, but the women love when Chubby shows up. So if you're worried about meeting people, the club system can be a really big help. Because you are not starting from zero. You can walk into a room with people who already share something in common with you. Maybe it's where you grew up or a hobby, a sport, music, volunteering. But that common connection can make it easier to start conversations. And that really matters because for a lot of people, moving here is not just a real estate decision. It is a life change. You may be leaving friends, family, a long time home, a familiar routine, and suddenly you're in a brand new place. That can be exciting, but it can also feel a little bit overwhelming. So the clubs and activities help with that. They give people a way to plug in, a reason to get out, and a place to belong, and something to look forward to. Now here is the honest part. Again, you do not have to be busy every minute of every day. Some people move here and jump into everything. Others take their time. Some people join 10 clubs. Some join 1. And some people prefer a quieter lifestyle. That is perfectly fine because the point is you don't have to do everything. The real point is that you have a lot of options. All right. We're going to talk about something that I just did not see coming when Jude and I moved here. It has to do with costumes and dress up. Yes, I know I'm going there. And I'm just not talking about Halloween. I'm talking about part of the lifestyle here. Before we moved, Jude and I maybe had a couple of dress up costume things, maybe a hat, a wig, maybe a shirt, probably enough to fit in a shoebox. Well, now we have bins, not 1, not 2, multiple bins. And honestly, we have many costumes and dress up things hanging in our spare closet. Oh my heavens, wigs, hats, glasses, beads, holiday stuff, theme party stuff, globe party stuff, and things I am not even sure how to describe. And here's the funny part. It does not feel weird here. It feels just kind of normal because in the villages, there's always seems to be some kind of theme party going on. Holiday event, club event, or neighborhood party, or just music night where people show up dressed for the occasion. Halloween, of course, is the obvious one, but Halloween here is not just one night. Believe it, it feels like it lasts for the whole month of October. It's kind of crazy. St. Patrick's Day, phew, same thing, green everywhere. Christmas, absolutely. Ugly sweaters, Santa hats, holiday outfits, golf carts decorated, people dressed up. 4th of July, red, white, and blue everywhere. Glow parties, oh my heavens, that is a whole category by itself. And then you have the theme parties, 70s night, 80s nights, Western night, beach parties, tropical nights, disco parties, Mardi Gras, pirate themes, sports themes. Do I have to go on? And probably a bunch more that I'm forgetting. And if you are someone who enjoys that kind of thing, you are going to have a blast here in the villages. Now, you do not have to participate. Nobody is going to make you wear a wig, although I love it. Nobody is going to force you to dress up like a pirate. And if dress up in costumes are not your thing, that's okay. But if you're willing to have a little fun with it, you may find yourself getting pulled into it more than you expected. That is what happened to us. At first we thought, okay, we'll get one dress up outfit. And then it was, well, we need something for St. Patrick's Day, then Halloween, then a glow party, then a theme night, then a neighborhood party. And before long, well, you're standing in the garage looking at 4 bins of costumes and dress up stuff and wondering how this ever happened. Now, I'll give you a couple of examples. One time I dressed up as Mr. Clean. And let's be honest, that was not exactly a stretch for me. Bald hair? Well, bald head, check. White shirt, check. Earring, check. Why not? Attitude? Absolutely, you can see that. I totally pulled it off. Another time, Jude and I dressed up as the Addams Family. And with the help of friends playing Morticia, Gomez, and Lurch, Jude dressed up as Wednesday, and I dressed up as Uncle Fester. We went to a neighborhood party, walked up and sang the Addams Family theme song. We were quite a hit. I sure wish someone had recorded that on video. Anyway, it was so much fun. But the bigger point is this. Dress up and costumes are not really about anything other than just having some fun. They're about laughing. They're about saying yes to something fun. They're about showing up, and that is a big part of the village's culture. Getting involved. Dress up, decorating your golf cart, dancing, laughing, taking pictures, of course. And boy, do folk take a lot of photos here. People love making memories, and if you are new here, that can be a good thing to keep in mind. You do not have to jump into everything right away. But if somebody invites you to a theme party, or a neighborhood event, or a costume night, maybe say yes. And if it feels a little outside your comfort zone, so what? Because some of those moments become the stories you talk about later. And that is one of the things I think people love about living here. It gives you permission to have fun, be a little silly, try something different, and not take yourself so doggone serious. And honestly, at this stage of life, that can be a pretty good thing. So if you move to the villages, do not be surprised if you eventually end up with a costume and dress-up bin, or 2 or 4. And if you are wondering what to wear, just ask around, because somebody will know. And somebody will probably say, don't worry about it. I have something you can borrow. That is the villages. Join in, have fun, wear the costume, go to the party. And when your spouse says, what are we wearing? You will know you are officially part of the village's lifestyle. One of the biggest reasons people end up moving to the villages is pretty simple. They come to visit, maybe they have friends here, maybe family, or rented a place here for a few days, or came down for a week, and at first, they are just checking it out. But then something happens. They ride around in a golf cart, they go to the town squares, they see the music, the restaurants, the recreation centers, the golf courses, the pools, the clubs, the neighborhoods, and suddenly, the villages is not just something they heard about. they are experiencing it. And once you experience it, it can be pretty easy to get excited. And I get that. Jude and I felt that too. We actually put an offer on a house after our first visit. It wasn't accepted, and we were sure happy it wasn't, because we really had not done much looking around yet. This place has a way of pulling you in. And here is the part I really want people to understand. There are a lot of different flavors of Kool-Aid down here. There is the golf cart lifestyle flavor, the town square flavor, the brand new home smell flavor, the mature trees and established neighborhood flavor, the lanai where you drink coffee and solve all the world's problems flavor. And they can all be good flavors, but before you drink the whole doggone pitcher, take a breath. Because we have seen people come down for a visit, fall in love with the lifestyle, and then buy a home very quickly, sometimes in one day, and sometimes that works out great. But actually, sometimes after the excitement settles down, they realize they love the Villages, but maybe not the specific home they bought. Wrong area, wrong model, too far from what mattered to them, or just not the right fit for how they really wanted to live. And that is where it helps to slow down and think through what really matters. There are a lot of things to consider when looking for a house here. First, what is your current life stage? Will you be a snowbird or live here full time? Do you want new construction or a pre-loved home? What geographic part of the Villages appeals to you, and why? Remember, there are over 106 actual neighborhood villages within the 60 square miles of our community. So there are many different options. How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? Square footage? What's your budget? Do you prefer block and stucco or vinyl? Do you want a golf cart garage? What kind of backyard view matters to you? Water, golf course, privacy? And that is exactly why it is important to take your time. Jude and I were actually relieved that first house did not work out. We took more time, looked around, found a fabulous home, and we are so happy with the home we ended up buying. So here is our advice. Enjoy the visit, have fun, go to the squares, ride around in the golf cart, talk to as many people as you can, look at homes, picture yourself living here, but do not let excitement drive the golf cart all by itself. In fact, looking for a house here in the Villages can sometimes feel quite overwhelming. In an upcoming video, we will bring you a tool to help you compare homes and options in the Villages. So please, don't drink the complete Kool-Aid pitcher in your first gulp. So watch for that video. Now we need to talk about the elephants in the room. Yeah, we do. Because anytime people start researching the Villages or talking with friends or relatives about the Villages, sooner or later these two things come up. So let's set the record straight once and for all. The first one is the STD rumor, and the second one is the loofah legend. Oh heavens. And yes, we're going there, but we're going to do it the right way and without feeding the nonsense. So let's start with elephant number one, the STD rumor. For years, the Villages has been called the STD capital of the country. You may have heard that. You may have seen it online. Somebody may have joked about it. But here is the problem. The numbers don't support that. We researched, and the numbers from 2025 say an entirely different thing. In the state of Florida, around 1 in 6,000 people reported STDs. The Villages area, 1 in 10,000, okay? Now look at that, the national average, 65 in 10,000 people. So the idea that the Villages is somehow the STD capital of anything does not line up with the numbers. Now, does that mean that people don't live their lives here? Of course. This is a large community, and they date here, they have relationships here. People have their own choices, but wild reputation is not the same thing as reality. A catchy rumor can travel a lot faster than the truth. And this one has been traveling for a long time. So if somebody's telling you the Villages is the STD capital, you may want to ask them where they got the information, because repeating something over and over does not make it true. Now let's talk about elephant number two, the loofah legend. Well, what loofahs? You mean those things that you use scrubbing off when you're in the shower? What? Well, yes. But if you have spent any time looking up our community online, you have probably seen something about loofahs. On the golf carts, on cars, different colors, different meanings. Who is supposedly looking for what? The swinger rumors and all kinds of other things people love to talk about. We are not going to show the loofah chart, not even blurred out. There's no reason to give it more room. The whole loofah chart started as an online joke, and it just became part of the village's folklore, probably because people think it's funny. I bet it was started by someone who never even visited or lived in the villages. But it is certainly not daily life here. People are not walking around here trying to decode certain things. They are playing golf, going to the pool, meeting friends, going to dinner, dancing at the squares, joining clubs, walking the dog, and living their lives. Have I seen a loofah on a golf cart? Yeah, once or twice, I think. But you know what? I've also seen on golf carts and cars flags, flowers, ribbons, stuffed animals, sports team decorations, holiday decorations, all kinds of things people use to help identify their car or golf cart. Because when you park in a big lot, like Walmart, you know what? Sometimes you just can't find your car. So you better have some way of finding your vehicle. That does not mean you see a loofah on a car or golf cart, that it's a part of some secret code. Sometimes a loofah is just a loofah. Now, are there single people in the villages? Yes. Do people date here? Of course they do. Do adults live adult lives? You bet. But the idea that the villages is one big secret swinger community, well, it's just not true. It's a internet folklore, a digital joke that started and got into an urban legend. And honestly, there is no need to give it any more air. Here's the bigger point. The villages is famous. And when a famous place, well, you know what it is. People talk about it. They exaggerate. They repeat things. They add to the story and the folklore. And the little joke becomes a big rumor. Well, we're here to tell you the villages is not perfect. No place is. But there are a lot of things that are cool here. But the internet rumors don't define what life is really like here. If you want to understand the villages, come and see it for yourself. Drive around. Visit the town squares. Go to the rec centers. Walk through the neighborhoods. Talk to people. Watch how residents actually live here. Because the villages is not something you fully understand from a headline, a Facebook comment, or a joke somebody tells at a party. You understand it better when you experience it. And once you do, you may love it here. You may decide it's not for me, or you may land somewhere in the middle. But all of a sudden, those answers are okay. But do not let the STD rumors or the loofah legend be the reasons you do not take a closer look at our community. Because if that's all you know about the villages, then you do not really know anything. And if you believe everything you read online, well, I've got some beautiful swampland for sale in Florida that is perfect for a new home or business investment. So give me a call. Well, it's about that time. We're going to have to wrap this thing up. But first, thank you. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us. We know there's a lot of content on YouTube, a lot of videos, a lot of opinions, and a lot of noise. So the fact that you chose to spend your special time with us really does mean a lot. The villages is not just one thing. It's not just about golf. It's not just about the golf carts or the squares or the homes. It's all of it. The people, the friendships, the relationships, the neighborhoods, the music, the activities. Oh man, and the freedom. It's about the next chapter. And that's really why we started this channel, by the way, to help you see the villages, not just from the outside, but from the inside. From people who live here like me, Jude, and Joshua. We work here, play here, and truly love it here. Now, is the villages perfect? Of course not, no place is. But there is a reason why so many people come here, take a look around and say, yeah, I can see myself living here. When you ask residents living here which area or neighborhood is the best one to live in, guess what the most common answer is? My area, of course. I think that does speak volumes about how happy people are living here in the villages. And also, when you ask residents if they have any regrets about moving here, one of the most common answers you hear is, I wish I would have gotten here sooner. And honestly, that says a lot too. So if you're thinking about the villages, if you're curious, if you're researching, if you're planning a visit, or if you're just trying to figure out whether this lifestyle might be right for you, we hope you'll come along with us, because this channel is going to be about helping you understand the villages one piece at a time. The lifestyle, the homes, the areas, the questions, of course, the fun, the surprises, and the things people don't always think about until they get here. So if you found this helpful or interesting, or even just a little entertaining, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Follow along with us as we unlock the villages. And don't forget, we have a couple of upcoming videos that you will not want to miss. So keep checking back. And if you have a question or comment or an idea for a future episode for us to do, please send them to us at thevillagesunlocked@gmail.com. That's thevillagesunlocked@gmail.com. And if you're on Facebook, you can also follow us at Team Turnkey. That's Team Turnkey on Facebook. So until we see you the next time, this is Chubby, thanking you for watching and welcoming you for the journey and saying, we'll see you on the flip side.